On Saturday, Governor-elect Abigail Spanberger will be sworn in as the 75th governor of Virginia. And while she joins decades of history, she's also making history as the first woman to hold that office. And joining me now to discuss her historic inauguration is Dr. Larry Sabato, founder and director of the Center for Politics at the University of Virginia. Great to see you as always. Let's get right to it. Spanberger had a major win back in November, and that shifted every single county in Virginia in her direction, securing the largest margin of victory since 1961. Dr. Sabato, do you think that this victory puts her under more pressure or less to govern in a particular way?
She has to produce. Every governor does. She has some advantages, though. As you note, her margin was a massive landslide, and she carried in so many additional Democrats in the House of Delegates that there are now 64 out of 100. The last time there were that many Democrats in the House of Delegates, it was in the 1980s, and I felt young. So that was a long time ago. And this is going to give her a real leg up. And she controls the state Senate, too, by a closer margin, 21-19. But the new lieutenant governor is no longer a Republican, but rather a Democrat. So she has a lot of advantages. The economy, if it slows down, may be a big minus. So we'll have to see.
Yeah, and I would imagine that there is some pressure when you do have that much going for you. You have to come up with results. You know, she was, as you're well aware, recognized as one of the most bipartisan members of Congress when they're on the Hill, having legislation passed by both Democrats and Republicans when it came to the White House. How does that come into play as she and the incoming lieutenant governor and attorney general are all vowing to fight back against certain Trump administration policies?
It tells me that the bipartisanship will be more superficial and presentational than it will be substantive, simply because that's what the party base will demand. We live in an extremely partisan era. We may not like it, but it's reality. And you're going to see that reality reflected in the state, just like you see it in Congress at the national level.
Yeah, do you think that it could be more than the national level, though? Virginia has played this kind of purple state role for a while, but you and I both know it's not always that.
I don't think Virginia is all that purple anymore. It can still vote Republican, as it showed in 2021 when Glenn Youngkin won the governorship, but it's relatively rare. In most elections, assuming Democrats nominate acceptable candidates, they're going to win a general election. If there's a Democratic president and there's a recession, something like that, then you might get a Republican victory. But the Republican victories are going to be the exception to the rule and not the rule. Still, I think people in Virginia, and probably nationally, but especially in Virginia, which usually has calmer politics, believe it or not, than the nation as a whole, I think Virginians expect there to be some level of cooperation when possible. Although we're also hardened to it now. It's every day. It's every hour of every day. Partisans are fighting. And at the top, frankly, there's a lot of negativity. So I'm not optimistic on that front. I am hopeful, though, given the balance in the General Assembly combined with the governorship, lieutenant governor, and attorney general all being from the same party, that we'll at least see some real accomplishments.
Yeah, and I'm sure we'd all like to see more unifiers than dividers. But when we talk about political parties, other than the differences of R versus D, what do you think will be the biggest difference in how Glenn Youngkin has governed, and then the policies that he has supported or vetoed, and what we can expect from a governor-elect Spanberger?
The greatest power that a governor has isn't the veto power, and it isn't the pardoning power. Those are both very significant powers. Rather, it's the way they make their appointments. The appointments they make, it's 4,000 plus individuals. Those are the people who actually run the government. They run each of the departments and each of the individual pieces of the state government. They make many of the decisions. They pass the rules, not just the General Assembly. So I think that's the most important change. You're going to have 4,000 very different people. Will Spanberger appoint some of the same people that Youngkin has had in? Sure, there'll be some carryovers, but I think you're going to see some dramatic changes. I think, for example, of boards of visitors at the universities, being at a university myself.
Yeah, and that's been a controversial one as of late. When we talk about, finally, if you don't mind, in her first speech as governor tomorrow, what kind of tone and tenor do you expect her to strike? Because it will be under the microscope. People look to see, is this going to kind of be a tell or some sort of tea leaf that we can read as to how she will govern?
People expect some idealism in an inaugural address. The idealism is important because you have the opportunity to set a tone which can last at least maybe through 2 weeks of a General Assembly session. And so if you set the ideals high, and if you make clear what you expect average Virginians to do, not just those who are in politics, I think you have a chance to get broader participation and maybe, just maybe, broader based policies that really do serve the state. I've seen it before. I've been to these inaugurals, I'm sorry to tell you, since 1970. And the governors who've done that well and who've established a norm for themselves and for their governments really do manage to accomplish more in the long run.
Yeah, well, there's a tall task ahead, a long list of items to accomplish, and we'll see if there is some sort of optimism after that speech and seeing a new governor. A history-making one at that. All right, Dr. Larry Sabato, thank you as always for your time. We love the insights. And of course, 7 News is on your side with complete coverage of Virginia's 75th gubernatorial inauguration. That ceremony is Saturday at noon, and you can watch it all live on WJLA.com.